and welcome to the first edition of Golden Eagle Sports Report for the 2021-2022 school year.
Tonight, we look at how the Marquette women's volleyball team fared over the weekend and how Marquette women's basketball team has been spending its time off the court.
We also discuss the latest surrounding Marquette men's basketball, Major League Baseball, and more. So get ready, Marquette Nation, because Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Slam dunk! Oh, that's a poster.
Live from the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down.
Hello everyone, I'm Ava Mayers.
And I'm Kristen Parisi.
The Marquette volleyball team hosted the Marquette Invitational this past weekend.
The team played 3 matches, going undefeated and winning all 3 games in straight sets. Molly Gretzlock has more from the first day of games.
1, 2, 3 sets were all the Golden Eagles needed on the first day of the Marquette Invitational over the weekend. Bouncing back from home losses against ranked Kentucky and Wisconsin, Marquette took back those 2 games on home court. First up on Friday was against the University of Texas San Antonio. Grad student middle blocker Savannah Rennie put up 10 kills and 5 blocks. Rennie is happy to be back at the Al McGuire Center with fans this season.
Really tough opponents, and it kind of got the ball rolling for us to be home again after a long time with no fans, and it's really awesome to be in the atmosphere and get 2 wins for the stadium, and it's been awesome.
The whole team worked together to defend shots and secure a comfortable mid-afternoon sweep. In the night matchup against Wright State, more fans came out in the band to watch Marquette's front line make block shots, led by grad student Taylor Wolf with 4. Grad student outside hitter Hope Wirch did not play the first game of the day, but came up big in the second, tallying up the team high of 11 kills. Head coach Ryan Tice was pleased with everyone's teamwork.
Different folks stepped up and made plays, which was nice. It felt like Hope started really hot, and everybody was contributing early, which gets the score a little bit lopsided.
After the completion of this weekend, Marquette will start Big East play against Villanova on September 24th. Reporting from the Al McGuire Center, I'm Molly Gretzlock, Marquette Wire Sports.
The team finished up the weekend against the University of Northern Iowa, and I was there to cover the action. The Marquette women's volleyball team was back in action on Saturday night. While wearing gold to support pediatric cancer prevention, the Golden Eagles were ready to go against Northern Iowa. Playing in their 3rd and final game of the Marquette Invitational, the women were looking to go undefeated on the weekend. Set 1 was filled with ties and lead changes until Marquette went on a 9-2 run and scored the last 5 points of the set to take the 1-0 lead. The momentum carried into the second set, where the Golden Eagles dominated the offensive end, hitting at 52% and secured the second frame victory, 25-15. Marquette went on to win the 3rd set and sweep the match behind Invitational MVP Savannah Rennie's 9 kills and 6 blocks. Redshirt junior Claire Mosier was also named to the All-Tournament team after a match-high 16-assist night. The key to the victory? Executing the game plan and playing together as a team.
Play together as a team. We wanted to work on a couple things, and I think we accomplished that this weekend, bouncing back from a tough couple losses last weekend.
The Golden Eagles are gearing up for conference play next week, and head coach Ryan Tice is confident in his squad moving forward.
Can we be balanced on offense, and can we get blocks and service pressure on defense? And if we can do those things, we'll be tough to beat.
Marquette's next outing will be on the road Friday against the Villanova Wildcats as they open up Big East play. Reporting from the Al McGuire Center, I'm Kristen Parisi, Marquette Wire Sports.
We would now like to bring in volleyball beat reporter Jackson Gross to fill us in on the latest surroundings of the team. Thanks for coming on, Jackson.
I'm excited to be back on. It's been a little while since I've been on, and I'm ready to talk some Marquette volleyball.
Perfect. Well, first let's start. Overall, What were your reactions from the Invitational?
Well, after last weekend, they had really tough games against Kentucky and Wisconsin, two top 10 teams. So it was really good to see them respond and clean up some of the things they had some issues with. Early on, they had some issues at the service line and with their own attacks. So cleaning those things up. And one of the other things I talked about with Coach Tice was that they wanted to win the serve pass battles in each game this weekend. And after talking to him after the second game on Friday, he said they'd pretty much done that throughout both matches. And he was really happy. And he was happy that cleaning up some of those other minor things they needed to work on.
Now let's look at some specific players such as Savannah Reaney, who earned the tourney MVP, and Claire Mosier earned an all-tournament honors. How important are these two to Marquette's success, especially this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Savannah was fantastic. Obviously winning MVP and having 9 kills and 6 blocks. She's been huge all year long at part of Marquette's middle line along with Carson Murray. Just been a fantastic veteran presence and always making big plays at the right time. Doesn't always put up the biggest stats, but also the most important stats. And then with Claire, she's been a reliable veteran setter. She had 47 assists, 14 digs, 3 service aces. So she was really huge for them this week in controlling the serves and just setting everyone up like Taylor Wolf.
Especially having Carson Murray be such a young player compared to those veterans, it sounds like they're really starting to get it together.
Yeah, Carson Murray has been fantastic this year so far. The jump has been bigger than I personally thought that she would have. I know she would improve and get some more playing time, but she's been fantastic to start the year.
Now looking forward to Big East play, which starts this weekend. The Golden Eagles were slated to finish second. Do you think this is a fair prediction, and where do you think they'll fall?
Man, putting me on the spot here. It's tough. I was looking at the standings the other day, and Providence is on an 11-game win streak. So they're already second in non-conference play right behind Creighton. I think that second place at the start of the preseason was probably a good spot, but it's going to be tough with now Creighton, Providence, and St. John's still being really strong teams. So I think top 4 should be the expectation for them this year, but it's going to be tough to get that number 2 spot.
Well, we definitely have something to look forward to. So thanks for joining us, Jackson. And when we'll come back, we're going to talk about women's basketball team's recent efforts off the court, along with updates on men's and women's soccer. Don't go anywhere, because GESR will be right back.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Smokey, catch!
Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs.
You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
Welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report. Once again, I'm Ava Mayers.
And I'm Kristen Parisi.
Although it's still the offseason, the Marquette women's basketball team has been busy, but not necessarily on the court.
Yes, sometimes things are bigger than the game itself. Kylie Getz has more.
We got a 3 all the way.
The Marquette and University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee women's basketball teams joined forces, presenting a free basketball clinic to the community.
All Milwaukee and Marquette players are running every station. It's anything from ball handling, defensive shuffles, shooting competitions, and they get to rotate every about 10 minutes and get access to all of our players.
Players are able to recognize the value of giving back to those who support them throughout the season.
This is the best part of the job too. I think just being able to get outside the court and being able to do this stuff is great.
Graduate student Carissa McLaughlin expressed the importance of using their platform to connect with their younger fans.
So to be able to get back in the community and use our talents and use our voices that we have for good, exactly what we want to do.
Valuing this opportunity, the Golden Eagles are dedicated to making an impact going forward.
But it's something about being in Milwaukee where we play every single day and with the UWM team that makes it really special. I want to impact them in a lot of ways. I think definitely the energy is something that I always stress on. Energy is very, very important.
Panthers head coach Kylie Reckledge echoed similar remarks.
To be able to collaborate and bring our two programs together for an event like this, where it just shows that you can unify and bring the city together, I think it's so important.
Along with the players and coaches, Milwaukee community police officers made an appearance as well.
Sometimes in our communities there's a lot of negativity that comes between maybe our officers and our youth and our community. But let me tell you this today, guys, this is going to be a tremendous day to bring our service leaders in our community.
Reporting from Washington Park, I'm Kylie Getz, Marquette Wire Sports. We would now like to bring on our very own John Leuzzi. John, welcome back. It feels like we never left talking women's basketball.
Oh, it's a great time. Can't wait to get started.
So starting off, what were your biggest takeaways from the clinic? Because you said it was such a great time out there, seeing the community, the basketball players, and the police officers coming together.
I think the biggest thing for me, Kristen, was that after all this time away with COVID and the pandemic and all, you're able to see the personalities of these student athletes and the coaches to the fullest. And I think it was really cool to see them interact with these young kids and try to coach them up a little bit, because they were in their position a couple years ago when they were coming up. That's one thing that Lauren Van Clunen, who told me this was one of the reasons why she wanted to come back for that 6th year.
Exactly, and just seeing the players in one position and getting to inspire the young youth and coming up, maybe some of them might even be playing for Marquette or UWM. But what was something like this mean to the players? Because they obviously take it to heart, being able to train the youth.
Absolutely. I think this means a lot for them, knowing that they weren't able to see the fans last year, and they were able to come back and get this season kicked off unofficially because Marquette Madness is right around the corner. But for them, able to pay it forward, being able to be that coach that they had in their youth and now able to impact the next generation of basketball players. Carissa McLaughlin, Lauren Van Clunen, and Chloe Murata said that was the biggest part for them.
Obviously, coming up in the season, they're going to look forward to maybe even doing more community events like this. But for the upcoming season, let's take a look at what head coach Megan Duffy had to say.
Yeah, I think with this team, we still have some new roles to fill. When we lost Celine a lot, we put the ball in her hands, a ton. So just trying to find those different players and new players that will step up in big challenges. And I think our non-conference is going to test us. And obviously the goal is to be ready for Big East play. And I like our team. I like the strides that we still have to make. We're definitely not there yet, which is a good thing for a coach because we'll be pushing them hard at each and every day.
So she looks excited. Although they lost Celine a lot, they're bringing back Lauren Van Clunen, Chloe Murata. They even added Carissa McLaughlin and some other great players. So what can we expect from this team this year? I mean, they lost in the Big East title game last year and then were knocked out in the first round of March Madness. So what do they look like?
I think this is going to be the same team we've seen out of the last 2 years out of Marquette, a team that is hungry, that blue-collar mentality on and off the court. They're just there from making a nice run in the NCAA tournament. We saw glimpses of it at the end against Virginia Tech. I think they're still high in the Big East when you're talking about the standings, and Lauren Van Clunen, Chloe Murata, 2 big returns for them.
Exactly, and they definitely have a chip on their shoulder after both of those losses in the Big East title game and March Madness. But the Golden Eagles added 3-point ace Carissa McLaughlin from Purdue. How important will she be this year for the Golden Eagles, especially from beyond the arc?
Well, that's the point right there, and it wouldn't be an appearance without the stats. You talk about the three-point shooting. Marquette finished 9th in the Big East in three-pointers made last year per game at 4.2, and against UConn, you know how I love UConn.
Oh,
they only shot 26% from beyond the arc in those 3 games against the Huskies. So adding McLaughlin to the three-point line is huge for Marquette. She is able to play a little bit of the point guard, which is Selena Lott's thing. But the three-point is what Marquette missed with no Izzy Spingola last year.
Exactly, and with these additions and with Lauren Van Clunen returning and obviously the veteran leadership of Jordan King, Chloe Murata, where do you see this team ending in the Big East and even in the NCAA tournament?
I still have them as number 2. I think they're still better than DePaul. We'll see how DePaul looks. They have a very good incoming first-year class. Marquette, they only have one first year, but they bring back a lot of experience, something that this team lacked last year.
Exactly, and although they're going to be having to play a powerhouse UConn, of course, UConn added number 1 overall AZ Fudd along with Paige Beckers, and they have Kristen Williams coming back and all those assets, so it's definitely going to be hard for them. But do you think they could contend for that Big East title?
I am hoping for when we go to Mohegan and see an upset. I don't know right now. I think it's still too early, but we'll see Marquette what their DNA is after their non-conference schedule ends in early December.
It should be fun, and we both love talking basketball, so it's going to be a great time coming this winter. And finally, former players, we were talking about former players, Natisha Heidemann recently got engaged to her teammate Jasmine Thomas from the Connecticut Sun. Do you have any inside scoop on the wedding date?
Well, I already have my plane ticket booked. You need to go get yours so we can go cover. But no, that's really great to see them, and got to see Natisha this summer a little bit over at a Connecticut Sun game, and just great seeing her now get some productive minutes for the Sun, who number 1 in the WNBA.
Exactly, they're hot right now. I mean, they're going into the playoffs. We'll see how they fend against Phoenix and Seattle. Obviously, the reigning champs, the Seattle Storm, but it'll be a good one. I can't wait. But thank you so much for coming on the show, John. When we come back, we'll be discussing men's basketball and a whole lot more. So keep it here because we will be right back.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
we discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things,
but they're all pure
love.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
And we are back in Studio 7 and back on the panel as we will talk about what lies ahead for Shaka Smart and his first season as the head coach of the Marquette men's basketball team. Joining me on our panel is the staple, Matt Yazel. Matt, good to have you back. Ben Schultz, and Johnny Broker. So let's get started. Coach Smart shared his thoughts on what lied ahead this season. Let's take a look.
Looking forward to November 9th, our first game. You know, I've not coached a game in Fiserv before. I've been to a couple Bucks games, and obviously what an unbelievable arena, but being in there with the Marquette students and fans is something I'm really excited about.
So after hearing that, how excited he is to finally be coaching in Fiserv, I mean, he has some ground to come up because the Bucks just won the NBA championship, so it's definitely going to be fun being in that arena. But what can fans expect from this season of Marquette basketball in this new era? Johnny, we'll start with you.
Well, fans can expect a lot. Coach Smart is coming in to here to Marquette in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, from Texas Longhorns, because last 3 seasons hasn't been the greatest, but he came back here and he's ready to rock and rumble. His swagger and his mojo is different, and he's ready to do his thing. The way he communicates with his athletes and his players, that's a big thing, the reason why he was hired. And Marquette, we're ready, as fans, we're ready to see what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fans have been complaining about Steve Wojciechowski for the last few years now, and they finally, at least that section of the fan base, finally got their wish with Wojciechowski being fired and bringing Shaka Smart in. And you're right, that culture change is big with bringing Shaka Smart in. He's certainly a player's coach, and it's going to be a completely different team on the court for Marquette fans next year. So in terms of like the level of excitement, I'm personally excited to see how different it's going to be and what changes we see compared to last year. But you also got to pump the brakes a little bit. There's only 3 players coming back from last season. It's a completely new team. They're going to need time to gel together, but it's certainly an exciting time to be a Marquette basketball fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then last season's team, we lost Dawson Garcia, who's now playing at North Carolina. And then Theo John is playing at Duke. So the returners are Greg Elliott, Justin Lewis, and then Osa Ighodaro. And so it'll be interesting to see how he uses those players from last year's team, and then how they integrate with all the new players that they have this season.
It should be interesting. I mean, obviously team culture is such a big thing right now, but being able to have that summer, being able to go to the beach, I mean, they just had a sunrise workout, so obviously they're getting together as a team and they're starting to feel it out, and I know they're excited. I know from the social media they seem excited. They seem like the culture has definitely changed. So what does Coach Smart offer that Wojo didn't? Is the culture, the coaching style all above, or is it something else that Shaka has that Wojo didn't?
I think when it comes to the playing style, we'll see a more defensive-minded group from this team. With Wojo, his defensive efficiency ranking, his best year was 45th, whereas Shaka in his time at Texas, his worst was 40th. So I think there'll be a lot of difference on that side of the ball. And then they brought in Kirk Kweth, who led the Big 12 in block rate. And then they brought in Daryl Morcell out of Maryland, who was Big Ten's Defensive Player of the Year last year. So I think we should expect big things on the defensive end from those guys, and then we'll see how it fills out from there.
Being able to integrate with the team, Coach Smart does a really great job of doing that. And with that, when you play for somebody like that, you're going to want to play for him because he's there. One would say he's one of the guys, which is pretty funny because he's smaller than all of them. But Coach Smart, what he brings to like I said before, his swagger and his mojo, that's different from what Wojo, I don't think he had that. And just his mentality and all of that, just coming together, I think it's going to be a great season for Marquette.
For sure. And to your point about the defense, at VCU, Smart was known for pressing full court a lot and really putting pressure on the ball. There were times when he got away with that or got away from that at Texas a little bit. And I think that's where some of the criticism about not winning as much at a big program like Texas came in for him. So I think with some of those defensive players you mentioned coming in, this Marquette team should be much more focused on putting pressure on the other team, forcing turnovers. I mean, that's what opposing defenses have done to Marquette in the last few years. They've been a very turnover-prone team. So I think Smart is going to come in and try and be a much more defensive-focused team.
Exactly, and we'll see. Hopefully their defense is tough because they're definitely going to need that confidence on defense because defense wins championships. But as you said, Ben, they're not really returning that many players from last year. So who do we think is going to be one of the biggest players that are going to make a jump this year? Is it going to be a returner like Justin Lewis or Greg Elliott, or is it going to be a newcomer like Darren Moselle or one of the first years?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say Justin Lewis. I think Lewis is poised to take a big step up this year. I mean, he came off the bench mostly last year. He suffered an injury in the middle of the year, which was unfortunate. It kind of slowed some of his momentum throughout the season. But Lewis is just a sophomore, but he's already built like an NBA player. He's one of the stronger players that's going to be on the court no matter who Marquette is playing. And I'm really excited to see. We saw a little bit of even his offensive game, an outside shot at times. He was able to score down in the post, and he was a great defender and a great rebounder last year in limited minutes. So this year, potentially moving into the starting lineup, I expect big things from Justin Lewis.
Yeah, I think we'll see big things out of Justin, but then they also brought in Tyler Klolek. He was the newcomer of the year in the A-10 last season. He can really shoot the ball, left-handed shooter, and so he was the last of those three transfers who played college basketball last year.
And for me, I also think Justin Lewis, but for me, I think it would be Stevie Mitchell, because he's a great ball handler. I think he's gonna come off the bench, but he's shifty. He can get to the paint, get to the basket, and that's what you need in a point guard. And I think Stevie he's a very underrated for our team this year.
Awesome. We'll see who has the biggest jump when the season gets started. But switching over quick to baseball, the Brewers has had an incredible season thus far. Matt, I'm sure you're very happy about this, standing at a record of 91-59. So how far do you see this team going in the postseason? Could they win it all, or will they be upset?
The Brewers absolutely can win it all, and let me tell you why. The Brewers, I think this team has no glaring weakness, and it's as a fan of the Brewers for a long time now, it's very weird for me to be in September and like not worrying about making the playoffs. It's with the lead that they've got, but the Brewers have, I believe, the best pitching staff in baseball with their starters and their bullpen as well. I think it's going to be a huge advantage in the playoffs. It's going to be tough. I think when they get to that NLCS against either probably Giants or Dodgers, we'll see how it goes. But that round is going to be tough. But I think the pitching staff can carry them as far as they need to go in the playoffs. And then I think the lineup is a lot better than people think. They had great trades throughout the year. Willie Adames was probably the most impactful trade in all of baseball this year. He's finally back healthy now. Eduardo Escobar was a great trade at the deadline. So even when Christian Yelich hasn't been having the same type of season we're used to from him, injuries and all that, this team has been fantastic throughout the year, particularly after trading for Adames. And I think they have that energy that you need, and they've been playing well. They're playing well going into the playoffs, and I have a lot of confidence in this Brewers team as compared to years past.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the pitchers that you didn't get to touch on were the relievers. Josh Hader,
having his best season, really, and what has already been a great career.
Yeah, so he'll be there to slam the door shut if we have a lead in the ninth inning. And then Devin Williams to set him up is also a great reliever. And I think the combination of those two, after the likes of Freddie Peralta, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, I think makes a great group. And then there's also some other relievers in there too who can help, but Devin Williams and Josh Hader will be there to shut the door.
And then when we talk about the Brewers, you have to mention Yelich. I think that for the postseason, as far as they can go, I think they can go as far as he takes them. If he has a bad day, I don't think they're going to do anything. But if he does what he's been doing all season, I think the Milwaukee Brewers will go very far this season.
Yeah, and they need him for sure. In 2018, he was the guy all regular season, struggled a little bit in the playoffs, and that's kind of what killed him in the Dodgers series that year. He wasn't great. So it's a great point. They absolutely need him in the playoffs.
How big would he be elevated, maybe a Hall of Fame or one of the greatest, if he took Milwaukee to win it all and get that ring?
Oh, he skyrockets him in terms of his resume. I mean, the Brewers have never won a World Series, as I've been told many times. And look, they got the juice off the Bucks championship this year, I'm sure, in terms of the city of Milwaukee, but it would mean even more with the Brewers. They don't have a great history in terms of winning and success until now. So it would be a gigantic moment for him in this city.
All right.
I think it's good to say if they win the championship with him, he could be the equivalent of LeBron James to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
All right, so we're going to end on that hot take. We'll see come October if the Brewers were actually able to do it. But we are out of time. Thank you all for a great discussion for our first week back. Be sure to tune in next week for all of our coverage of Marquette sports and more. For Ava Mayers, I'm Kristen Parisi. Good night, Marquette.